One of the most well-known quotes in history, the only two certainties in life are death and taxes. For NetherRealm Studios fans, a third certainty would definitely be guest characters are going to be included on the roster. With the new Mortal Kombat title coming pretty soon, and based on NRS's track record, guests will probably make an appearance in the next title. So today, we're going to talk about my top 10 guests I'd like to see in the next Mortal Kombat.
Fight!
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. My name is Nick, and welcome to or welcome back to the channel. Today, we're discussing guest characters, a staple in every NRS game since Mortal Kombat 9. Now, I am aware that guest characters are quite controversial, almost as controversial as pineapple belonging on pizza or Smash Bros being a real fighting game. But I actually welcome them, as they can actually get people to play the game who were probably never interested in Mortal Kombat to begin with. I mean, just look at Soul Calibur as an example. Since Link was added in Soul Calibur 2, its popularity increased tremendously. For this list, I'm going to be making my picks more realistic, meaning I'm not going to go for some very outlandish people like Barney the Dinosaur or something like that. I'll be looking at iconic movie and game characters I believe fit the ultra-violent tone of Mortal Kombat, along with having the potential of having a cool moveset and some creative fatalities. I'll be sticking with one guest per franchise. The higher the likelihood and fit, the better. Now before we do get started, here are a few honorable mentions I have here. Since I won't be doing any console exclusive guest characters, people like Fulgore, Saberwolf, Sweet Tooth, and Bloodborne Hunter won't be included in this list. I also did debate on putting Deathstroke on here from DC Comics, but because we already had the Joker and we had a crossover, I thought that was kinda cheating for this list and I wanted to leave him off it. Also, no repeated guest characters, so I'm sorry fans of Kratos, I do want to see him come back in some way, but not on this list. With that, grab your sling rings and let's summon those otherworldly beings and discuss 10 guests I'd love to see enter the Mortal Kombat tournament. At number 10, we're starting this list off with a character many of you probably never heard of, as his last game released in 2010. My first guest pick is Rick Taylor from the Splatterhouse series. This Jason Voorhees lookalike definitely fits the tone of Mortal Kombat, an ultra-violent character who rips monsters apart with his bare hands. He'd also be a standout among the roster for his size. The dude is a mountain of a man who looks like his exclusive diet is creatine and protein powder. I feel this hack and slasher could lead to a fun playstyle as well, too. Now, the only reason he's at the absolute bottom of this list is because Splatterhouse hasn't had any new titles since 2010, and we haven't received any news about the series or anything regarding a revival or a reboot. Unless Namco wants to reboot the series, then that would be the perfect chance to see Rick Taylor splatter into the Mortal Kombat universe.
Yeah? Well, you.
Alright, for number 9, I know this is a bit of a stretch, but I feel like I really wanted to talk a lot about this one. This spot is actually a representative from the cancelled Primal Rage 2. For those who don't know, Primal Rage was a fighter originally owned by Atari Games in the early 90s, and was a competitor to both Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. During the development of Primal Rage 2, Midway actually bought their competition, and then the project was cancelled as they thought it would be redundant to have two similar fighters under the same umbrella. Since Midway is now part of WB Games, and Primal Rage did make it into MK11 as an Easter egg in the Retrocade stage as a cabinet, let's continue and bring Primal Rage back in some way. I believe adding a character from this series would be a nice way to not only make it remembered again, but also try and see if there's an interest to revive the series as a whole. If they were going to add a character, I would say add Auric, the demigod who can actually turn into the dinosaur Sauron. Having a sword-wielding fighter who fights like Tusk from Killer Instinct and can turn into a dinosaur could lead to a really cool moveset, and being a demigod could have some fun links to Ryden or something like that. Imagine his awesome stage being Earth from his dimension with all of the other references to other Primal Rage characters in the background as they fight. I think this could be an easy workaround to have WB put a Primal Rage character in this game. It's only if WB wants to make it happen. So, only time will tell, I guess. And speaking of WB properties, number 8 comes from the horror mind of Stephen King. It's Pennywise the Clown. Mortal Kombat has had a history of including horror guest characters, such as Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and Leatherface to the roster. While discussions for Michael did happen at one point, I think Pennywise would be the right horror pick for me. Imagine how unique his moveset could be. His rushdown charge could be the spider arms, the deadlights could be used to stun the opponent, and the weird balloon projectiles could just hurt them, I guess. It'd be totally weird, but it'd be pretty cool. With the upcoming Dairy series coming out on HBO Max, it's fair to say that this is a high possibility we could see the dancing clown make his way into Mortal Kombat. Up next on our list is another 80s action character I wish that appeared in Mortal Kombat 11, the judge, jury, and executioner, Judge Dredd. I feel this is another character that fits that action vibe other guests like Terminator and RoboCop filled, but I think Dredd would be more fun than those two. Just imagine like the hotshot as like a really unique fatality or brutality, and then having some of his unique gadgets for some cool setups and stuff like that. I feel he would be another awesome action character to make his way into Mortal Kombat. Recently, Ed Boon did a discussion on Twitter talking about guests that fell through, such as Michael Myers from Halloween and even Neo from The Matrix for Injustice. One character he had mentioned they had discussed wanting to add to Mortal Kombat since MK9 was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Personally, I think Buffy would be a great fit. I could see her having her enchanted hammer, her axe, and maybe Mr. Pointy for some fun rushdown combos. I feel that an awesome, badass vampire hunter would be great for Mortal Kombat. Imagine the interaction with her and Natara or something like that. I also think it's about time we got a female guest fighter for Mortal Kombat as well, so fingers crossed this can become a reality.
Guess what? I feel better.
Entering the top 5 with vengeance, or revenge. Revengeance with Ryden from Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Totally stupid title, I know, but it's awesome. For those who haven't played this hidden gem, MGR is an amazing hack and slash game with the main gimmick being cut at your will. Slice apart anything and everything. And I feel that Ryden, with his unique weapons and fighting style, would make for an awesome guest character outside of PlayStation All-Stars. Imagine his fatal blow being the time-slowing Zandatsu, then unpausing the time with an explosion of blood, him utilizing a bunch of slashes, all the other weapons he's gotten from the bosses from the game. I feel he's perfectly fit for a fighting game. Now I feel the biggest obstacle or hurdle we would have to go through to make this happen is just with Konami in general right now. If they could stop messing around, then we could get an awesome sequel to this game, but also an amazing inclusion in Mortal Kombat. This is definitely someone who's been on many wish lists, but number 4 will go to Homelander from The Boys. I almost did put Billy the Butcher on here, but since Ed Boon mentioned he thought Homelander would fit better, I decided to put the douchebag Superman here instead. I feel he would play a lot like an Injustice Superman, but with a lot more bloodshed. I feel this would be a great way to include another violent comic book character into the MK universe, similar to what they did with Spawn and the Joker in MK11. Also, if Homelander did make it in, I'd love to see Anthony Starr do the face and the voice. Then it would be
perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
You know, on many other guest lists I've seen, Ryu from Street Fighter always seems to make it on there. I know he's Ed Boon's top pick he'd want to see as a guest, but I don't think we would ever see it happen. However, there is another Ryu that would fit Mortal Kombat better, that being Ryu Hayabusa from the Ninja Gaiden series. Though we've seen Ryu Hayabusa appear in the Dead or Alive fighting game series, I think we could see him at his most violent while taking advantage of his weapons and fighting style. Using Ninpo for some fun magical abilities and other ninja weapons would make him stand out among the guest roster. Just put him in Tecmo and let the ninja compete with the Shirai Ryu and the Lin Kuei. Surprise! Number 2 goes to my favorite movie character and cancelled Combat Pack character for MK11, The Evil Dead's Ash Williams. I still think Ash deserves to be in Mortal Kombat. Though Bruce Campbell mentioned the issues stem from studios not coming together, as Evil Dead sequels are owned by different distribution companies, they could tie into the newest film, Evil Dead Rise, which is set to release in spring 2023. So yes, I still want to see Ashy Slashy cause some mayhem in the Mortal Kombat universe. Just imagine him being a fun mix of Lobo, Leatherface, and even Quan Chi by utilizing the chainsaw, boomstick, and the Necronomicon for some fun summoning. Now the reason he is at number 2 is because he did almost happen, but studio interference caused it to not happen. But he is staying on here as he is probably the grooviest guest pick on this list. Alright, I've mentioned this franchise plenty of times during my fatality rankings, but my number 1 guest pick for a Mortal Kombat game is the only thing they fear, the Doomslayer. So many people have talked about wanting to see this guy rip and tear into Mortal Kombat. See, I did it again. But I think he's a perfect fit here. I know many people would complain that he's an FPS character and he would be too zoner heavy. But look at what Killer Instinct did with the Arbiter. Just go with that approach and I thought he fit perfectly. I'd just make him use his super shotgun as his main gun for melee and some fun unique attacks like the meat hook. Also tie in some runes for some fun melee buffs and the BFG for an awesome fatal blow. A lot of his glory kills could make for some fun grabs or even some crushing blows in there, or even brutalities. There's a lot that they can pull together for this guy. I could really talk for hours on why I would love to see Doomslayer make it into Mortal Kombat. So I do actually plan on doing a video on how guests could play in Mortal Kombat, similar to what I did when I found out certain characters were announced for MK11. I can get working on that video later in 2023, but for now, Doomslayer is my top guest pick for Mortal Kombat. I really hope we get to see some gory action hero make his way into the series. And those are my guest picks for the next Mortal Kombat game. I know none of us are going to agree on this list, but I'd actually like to hear who you want to see most. Put in who it is, what they're from, and also share what would you want them to play like. Share like some fun fatality idea you have, and I'd love to talk about them in the comments with you too. Please don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Your support means so much, and I cannot thank you all enough. And with that, 2022 has come to an end. You all have been super supportive this year, and I cannot believe the growth that we've had. By the time of this recording, we are close to 21,000 subscribers, and all I can say is thank you so much. Be sure to stick around in the community tab as I'll be putting some updates for 2023 for stuff like video content, some other series I want to branch out into, and a few polls on what videos you'd like to see more of in the future. I've really been listening to a lot of your feedback, and that really helps plan out what I want to do in the future. Until then, thank you so much for all of your continuous support. You guys literally mean so much to me. You're all amazing. My name is Nick, and have a happy new year.